Breaking the gray.
All right, we are back. Sarah, it's season 2. It's been quite a long time since we've spoken. Not really, but it has been. It feels like it has been. Officially speaking with cameras and microphones and our new upgraded podcast studios here, the Rebel Scientist Studios at Breaking the Gray. It's so great that we can do it virtually, and I can't wait to see everyone in person, especially you, Sarah, since we have yet to, give each other a high five and connect by touch, but we will. We've been trying the remote healing thing, and it's been working kind of, but we need the real thing. We need to do all this together. So this is the Rebel Scientist podcast. This season, we're going to be trying something a little new. We've asked Sarah to open up her little black book and find some of her favorite friends and bring them on this journey with us, because they have so much to share. And Sarah, today's guest is probably one of my favorites so far, and outside of you, of course. We have Dr. Cliff Saunders, Esquire, thespian / scientist. Cliff, how are you? I
am tolerably well. How are you?
Even more tolerably well. I'm intolerable at home, tolerable on podcast. How's that?
That's perfect.
So
it's great to be here.
You too, Cliff. I would love for you to introduce yourself. Who are you? Why are you here? Why are you gracing your presence and taking the valuable time that you have saving lives and joining us here?
Well, it's all Sarah's fault. Okay, I met Sarah Turner, I'm going to say about 6 or 8 months ago, with some work that I've been doing with the folks that's designed the Flex Beam, Ariane Helder and Zulia Frost, and she hit it off. We're both Brits and both travel a lot and both like Southern California. And so we just started chatting. We realized we had a lot in common, and I'm just sort of, what you would say, I have a few more cycles under my belt. So I've been able to offer Sarah some other ways of thinking about some of the stuff that she's already doing, and learn a tremendous amount from her. She really knows her stuff, and she's really been very helpful to me and Anne-Marie, my wife, in terms of getting the most out of photobiomodulation and transcranial photobiomodulation. So that's how I get here.
Cliff, those are big words for my little brain. So let's give that into layman's term, and let's get what is your background? What are you a doctor of? And I guess let's get into the meaning of those big words.
All right. So thespian, thank you for that. Yes. It's I haven't been discovered yet, but I'm just going to push on. So I wanted to do theatre as a kid, but basically Dad wouldn't pay for theatre school. So I decided to punish him by becoming an engineer, something that I knew he would approve of. So I took electrical engineering. And as I was doing electrical engineering, I also took an apprenticeship program, which meant that I got the chance to work alongside a lot of very talented people who might not be particularly good in school, but were very, very good with their hands, very good with learning by physically doing things. And I learned a tremendous amount. I had to get off my high horse and really realize there's a lot of things that I didn't know. My master's is in applied psych. I love theater, I love art. I think if you were to say, which rules your life? Are you more scientist or artist or scientist? And I think art comes before science. Creativity and irrationality comes before the rationale of how you got here. You can't make leaps of imagination if you're, I'm just going to go from here to here, and then I'm going to go from here. That doesn't move you forward discontinuously. So applied psychology, spent a lot of my master's doing electrophysiology. In other words, sticking electrodes on people's heads and seeing what the signals meant. And one of the advantages of that is I had just come off my undergraduate in electrical engineering, so I knew what healthy signals look like in circuits. And my master's program, a full third of it, was on electrophysiology in all of its forms. And I got the chance to see what's a healthy and what's an unhealthy circuit. My PhD's in cybernetics. And if you're a bit rusty on that, it's the sorry, had to do it. It's still there.
We're here. It's okay.
It's the study and the practice of large complex systems and large complex probabilistic systems. In other words, they don't always work in the same way every time. They vary in how they're working. The common factor with all cybernetic studies is that there's a study of a goal, or how goals are achieved, and how they change as you begin to change. So that's my academic background. Is that enough, or do you want me to go on and on?
No, that's amazing. Sarah, let's hand this over to you. This is your show. I'm just here. I'm just the scratchy voice on the side here. So this is yours to take over.
Thank you, Rob.
Yes, let's start with, I guess, how the two of you are working together, and I'll shut up.
Well, the reason why we've got Cliff on today, and the reason why I think it's so interesting, is because Cliff's moniker is the brain reprogramming doctor. So I think we want to hear a lot about how we can reprogram our brains. And the things where Cliff and I have been working closely together is looking at different combinations of high-tech and low-tech ways of reprogramming your brain. We have been talking about a lot of red light therapy and a lot of ways that you can program your brain with light, maybe, and how you can modulate your biology with circadian rhythms. So there obviously is this biological component. And this is something that Cliff and I chat about a lot, is how can you kind of utilize how the brain's working, work with it harmoniously, and integrate some tech. So what I would like to pass over to Cliff is for him to explain some of the stuff we've been talking about and working on, about how you can reprogram your brain, why you'd want to do it, and what are the high-tech and low-tech ways to do that.
Okay, you have to keep me on track, but I will definitely
I'll get a metaphoric. I need a metaphorical book to kind of grab you off.
That's right. Exactly. Now, this is going to be a podcast, so people aren't going to be able to see what I've got. So I'd like the audience just to trust me for a moment and just tap the top of their heads. Just tap the top of your head for a minute. Perfect. Thank you for playing with me.
Yes, I'm playing along, even if no one else is.
Now, if you
come on, Ralph, tap that head.
All right. Now, leave your finger right on top of your head just for a moment. And if we think about this from electroencephalography, EEG terms, that particular place in the International 1020 program is called CZ. And it's called CZ because it's easy to find. And right under there are the neurons we've all used to be able to move our hands up. So you can take it down for a minute, but just bear with me that since you've been able to move and you were able to, without even having to look, accurately find the very top of your head, something, by the way, that robots could not do 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Very difficult for a robot to do that. Now it can do it trivially, but it was a very complicated thing once upon a time. That is where our movement centers are. Right under where your finger was tapping the top of your head is a strip of meat that runs from ear to ear called the motor and the sensory motor cortices, sometimes called M1. So let's say for a minute you wanted to improve your balance. Let's say you're getting on a bit, or you just wanted to improve your balance anyway for sports, whatever it might be. You would be able to talk to those neurons by taking it's called a photobiomodulator. I know they're big words, but basically a specially engineered red light source, and put it on that M1 strip of meat. And while you're doing that, the light will penetrate down through to the motor cortex, to the M1 strip, and give those neurons an extra boost of energy. Now, one of the things that I've discovered over the years with all forms of stimulation is once you are energizing or have energized a piece of your body, you can your body can learn much faster now you've given it some juice. So if you wanted to improve your balance while you're stimulating your M1 or immediately after, if you now stood on one leg and timed yourself until you fell over, and then changed legs until you fell over, and then walked as quickly and as carefully as you could along a straight line, and you timed yourself for each of those activities, and you did that every day for a fortnight, or in American, 2 weeks, you would find that your scores had improved. And subjectively, you'd find that your balance was improved. So there's an easy way of reprogramming or adding more capability to our brains, to our body systems, by thinking intelligently about, well, where does balance come from? Well, in part, there's lots of moving parts to balance. In part, a big chunk of it is computed in this M1 in that strip.
Can I jump in and summarize that, Cliff? Do you mind if I just jump in? Because I think this is something that isn't spoken about too much when people are talking about the tech, is this pairing of the piece of your brain that is involved in the function and pairing it with actually acting out that function. So here you're talking about the motor strip in the brain, but in order to get the most results, you're saying you need to actually do something that engages that motor function, which I think, which is why I love talking to you about this, Cliff, because not many people do talk about that. You know, you have a lot of these brain devices where it seems very passive.
Yeah, no, I mean, you will get a benefit by irradiating or illuminating, let's say, your brain. Over the years, I've just discovered that if you now push it a bit, and it's fun, right? You're standing on one leg going, oh, this is such a stupid, crazy thing to do. And it's not a pain to do it. It's amusing to do it. So you're having fun. So it's not work. It's a fun activity to do. And I'll tell you, as you make notes over the fortnight of how you're progressing, it's really encouraging. It's really encouraging because, goodness me, this isn't just an interesting theory. I am actually making substantial changes to my capability by doing just what you said, pairing the task with the photage. But if we were doing electrical stimulation, a montage, you're quite right. Adding that extra energy and then working it gives you much bigger effect than one alone.
Is there any crazy activities you've done, Cliff? You know, you're talking about standing on one leg. You know, what else have you tried to reprogram? What's the craziest thing you've done?
Well, little do you know, he's doing it right now. So.
Well, that's
got the lights on.
Yeah,
that's very true. I mean, let's go low tech.
Yes.
Let's go low tech.
I like low tech.
Okay. Most people don't realize that they don't know a lot of things that they don't even know about. That they're ignorant of their ignorance. But the way the brain works, we're not aware that we're ignorant of our ignorance because, well, I know everything. I mean, I'm English. I mean, I'm fine, you know, and you don't think that there's areas that you know nothing about. But if you were suddenly offered the idea that there's actually a door in the wall of your perception that you can go through, all of a sudden now your world has become different. Even though you haven't been through the door, now you know there's a door. And now what you have is the opportunity of exploring another space, another capability that had never occurred to you. So without any high tech, just beginning curious about, well, I wonder if there's stuff that I don't know about. I wonder if there's some areas that have never occurred to me occurring to me. And the answer is yeah. we have discovered almost nothing. But we're so arrogant, we think, oh, well, you know, third millennium, here we are, started third millennium, know it all, soon be over. No, it's just the beginning. And so I think that's important for people to realize there is so much more than we have become aware, and simply becoming curious about that possibility is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
you're probably wondering where I went, Cliff. I went through the door and I just came back. And you're 100% correct. There is a lot of shit there. And I honestly, amazing. Amazing.
It is. Now, let's still talk low tech, but high effective. All right. Now, supposing you, dear listener, got curious about this, you've been tapping your head and then wondering about all these funny people that have been talking about this crazy stuff. And you thought, well, I wonder if there is a door in my world. Guess who's been listening to these words we've been using? Your brain. So tonight, I dare you. No, I double dog dare you just to play some of this podcast over again to yourself in your mind's eye. And as you fall asleep, just ask that brain of yours that's been listening. Well, I don't know. It's probably a load of nonsense. You know, I'm sure nothing can come of it. But anyway, on the off chance that it does, perhaps while I'm sleeping, how about you use my REM sleep, my creative sleep, and see if there's some stuff that I'd never even thought about thinking about, so that in the morning you may have some insights, or while you go about your day for the next couple of days, you suddenly get drawn to something that you hadn't got curious about before and discover, oh yeah, that's the door in the wall.
Brilliant, Cliff. I know I've done this with you a few times. I've been on a few of these trips with you, and we've been doing all kinds of things, mental cribbage, and, you know, I've even got some stuff down there. I'm going to do paper folding later as one of the things to stimulate dexterity. You know, I've got a lot of things there to learn from. And yes, it is amazing. It's tapping into the subconscious, what you're talking about there too.
Absolutely. I tend not to use the term subconscious because it implies we know the structure of consciousness.
What do you call it, Cliff?
Other than conscious.
Other than. That's cool.
Okay, it's other than. So that's the most general thing we can say. There's stuff I'm conscious of. I'm conscious that I'm tapping the top of my head, but I'm completely other than consciously aware of how I do it. I have no clue. I'm just glad it does.
Brilliant.
I would love I think there's this common thread of life that we carry around our traumas, that we carry around this past that has haunted us, or this thing that has haunted us. I've been through seminars and trainings and therapy, all of it to identify, yes, you have some trauma that you dealt with as a child. Are there things we can talk about here to reprogram yourself to see those traumas as something different than a trauma?
Absolutely. Let's just, I hope you don't have to edit this out. Let's just say each one of us have had some shit in our lives.
I already said it, so I already uncorked it. So
okay, all right. So we have all had shit in our lives, and if you're listening to this in English, there's a good chance you're either North American or Northern European or Brit or Aussie, and those cultures have something in common, which is it is unseemly to pat yourself on the back, but it is absolutely fine to denigrate oneself. Oh, I could have done better. No, you know, it's nothing, you know, I really couldn't have done that. And we think that if we would only do a root cause analysis on all the shit in our life, that somehow, magically, it would go away, forgetting that our brain is a connection machine. It is a neural network of neural networks. And if there's one thing I can tell you from cybernetics a neural network is really good at, it's learning things. So if you're not careful, you can get extremely good at finding the shit in your life because you've trained yourself to do it. So step one is to realize diagnosis is not cure. Now, if you want some fun things to do to get clear the crap out, what I suggest to most of my clients is to find, I call it a Dagwood cupboard, right? You remember Dagwood and Blondie? And he had this cupboard that if he opened it, all the shit would fall out on him, right? Now, not everyone has a Dagwood cupboard, but some people do. Everyone usually has a Dagwood drawer. And a lot of guys have a Dagwood garage, right? They do. Okay. So one of the things I'll get them to do is to get a bunch of black garbage bags. They don't have to be black. Get those, handy garbage bags, and go into the garage or the Dagwood cupboard or the shit drawer and take out each piece at a time and look at it and say, do I keep this? Put it in one pile. Is this garbage and I wonder why it's here? Put it in another pile. Or, nah, I'm not quite sure. Put it in a third pile. Go through all your crap until you've got, and now I'm going to say, keep the things you're not sure about and put that in with the other stuff, because it would be horrible if you threw it away and thought, oh, I needed it. But I guarantee you, at least a third of it is going to be stuff you no longer need. And go through a little ceremony of chucking it out.
Yeah.
And that night, as you go to sleep, invite that brain of yours to do the same with all of the crap that you've been reinforcing all of those years.
Did we all Marie Kondo our homes in the last year or so?
I don't know who that is.
She's the one that says, get rid of all of your stuff and only keep the things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
I think what you just said is we're going to Marie Kondo our trauma and acknowledge it and say, that brings joy to my life. And if it doesn't bring joy, thank it for existing and then let it go.
And then let it go. It's like the joy of tidying up, isn't it? It's the joy of tidying up your brain. I think we should invent that.
It is. Because the metaphor, well, the metaphor really is now you've opened up the possibility of you storing more stuff in there than you had before. So the next thing I get people to do is begin to make a list of all the things they're proud of, all the things that they've done that given them joy, just as you said. And get your brain to reinforce the skill of going, oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, I did that. And I did that. Oh yeah, that's so cool. And you'll find you'll start smiling and you'll be setting off endorphins and serotonin of feel-good neurotransmitters, which is a much more glorious sensation than digging through the crap.
I'd like to add, Cliff, probably if you paired that with something where you are charging your brain, like either using one of these devices or even walking out and doing it at sunrise or doing it in the sunshine, that you're doing the task, but you're also giving your brain the juice that we were talking about.
I love it. Mm-hmm. What she just said.
Let's name it. We're gonna have a ceremony. We're gonna have a Cliff and Sarah ceremony, and let's do it. I think it's powerful. You've already changed my life. I'm ready. I'm gonna leave and go through my door, visit all the new things, and fill my now new emptied brain with some new lessons and some new learnings.
Brilliant. Yes, the fabulous art of tidying up your brain.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Ask me another.
Well, let's do a summary, Cliff, of your top tips for brain programming, because that's how we usually end the show. So what would be your 3 top tips to reprogram your brain?
I think the first thing I would say is re-listen to what we've just gone through, because we've gone through a lot very quickly.
Yes.
Get curious about the fact that your brain is listening to what we're saying. Your brain is not a passive 3-pounder hamburger meat. It is creating us every moment. That said, if our brain has not been exposed to certain information, it cannot conceptualize what's not in there to be conceptualized. This is the idea of the door in the wall. Get curious about what it is that you don't know, and actually actively ask yourself, what do I not know? What do we not know about? And then begin to harness your sleep more deliberately. Most people, I'm just going to go to sleep. No, you are going to sleep. You're wearing the most amazing supercomputer, and if you just take a few moments before falling asleep to say, could do with a bit of a hand, please, it will do it. It's a different type of habit. And I suppose the last thing I'd say, Sarah, is if you don't know about photobiomodulation, if you don't know about electrostimulation and their sister technologies, get curious about it and learn how to pair tasks with stimulation, because you're going to find you have a superpower you didn't even know you had.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cliff. As usual, totally enlightening. Great fun. And we learned a lot.
Cliff, always, Cliff, will you promise to come back?
Oh, I promise. I'll come back.
Okay, good. Not having you. Yeah, go.
I'll tell you what, Russ. Sarah asked me particularly to focus on photobiomodulation and like karate, hands-free things you can do. Another time, if you like, I would like to talk to people about the value of very, very weak but sculpted electrical fields.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the photobiomodulation is carefully sculpted light fields.
Electromagnetic.
All right, electromagnetics. It is not the only electrical fields. Our brain uses electrical fields to function, and it makes sense to use electroceuticals to do the same and different classes of things that you can do with photobiomodulation. For me, the two work hand in hand together with these sort of hands-free kind of methods. So I'd love to. Yes.
Can I give you my spiritual George Harrison raga Buddhism approach to this? So what you're saying is there are electrical fields all around us, and the energy that we create from ourselves connects to the energy outside. So let's make sure we create positive energy to connect to the positive energy outside. Is that okay to say, or am I crazy?
I love it. Let's face it, you don't come back. This is it. It's not a dress rehearsal. You want to get the most out of it, right? Absolutely.
Perfect.
I love it. I mean, to know that I met someone just 29 minutes ago and you forever changed my life. Hopefully we can share this, tell the world about it. But I so love doing this podcast. Thank you, Sarah.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And thank you, Cliff. Always a pleasure. So that was great. Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
I'm joining a podcast, I believe. I have no idea who is with me here. My brain has been reprogrammed. Who is this person I'm talking to?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. Is this a bit like the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind? We've got to start all over again, Russ, right from the beginning now.
I know you look familiar, but I don't actually know who you are. That is you brought that movie up, and it is my all-time favorite movie. I mean, it is number one.
Yeah, he's so cool, isn't he, Jim Carrey? Brilliant.
Yeah, he is, and Charlie Kaufman, and it's so good. Okay, so I know who I am, I think. Yes, and so Sarah, we're here. We're talking about Clifford, our session with Clifford that we just had.
Yes.
Last week. I would love to hear your thoughts. I have lots of thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts on it in our 7-day challenge.
Yeah, so Dr. Clifford Saunders, he was very, very interesting guy. Obviously, a lot of experience. He's got a lot of clinical experience, which is great. And actually, I talked to Clifford quite a lot, outside of the podcast. So I have a little bit of inside information. And so Clifford's been teaching me quite a lot of things. And I think because we're doing the 7-day challenge, what I decided to do was take on some of Cliff's ideas about, using different parts of your brain and stimulating them at the same time. So, if you want to be able to concentrate more, you stimulate the part of that brain, but then you also do a task, an associated task. And this is something that's actually quite different when you're talking about the neurotech and brain stimulation. People don't often talk like that. So this was really what I took from our session with Cliff. It's actually a very clever method, a very novel method. And it's something that I've been doing with my light. As you know, I talk a lot about stimulating the brain with lights. Yeah. So that was what I was doing this week.
So, yeah, he talked a lot about, opening doors, tapping into the kind of the fullness of your brain and really focusing on those things. I just found it fascinating. I would love to have him back on because there really are lessons in there that can teach you how to, similar to, I guess we just had on with Boomer, of becoming an expert, right? But of really becoming an expert. So I think those two together, I think our audience will really find, how to focus, how to work with your brain, the brain that you have, and get more out of it.
Yeah, and it's cool. He has this little technique of referring to his brain as Brian. And, you can kind of ask yourself in the third person, come on, Brian, how are you going to deal with this situation? Get a different perspective on the problem. So that was great.
Or it could be multiple personalities, but that's okay.
Whatever you like, Brian, Brianette, whatever you would like, however many characters you would like. There's no rules here. But,
I think I'm going to name my brain a female brain. I'd like to have a female brain. Well,
I'm sure there's female aspects.
Yes.
What would you like? How would you like your brain to be addressed, Russ?
Betsy. Betsy's fine.
Okay. I might go for something. I'm going to go for something non-gender specific.
That's true. Yeah,
Apple,
that's true.
Or,
Apple's good. Apple's good. Except, yeah, Apple's good. Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow might think differently. They named their child Apple.
Maybe I'll go for the Elon Musk 72 symbol 5.
Just go for a number. I'm going to name my brain after a form of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, you could. Braincoin.
Braincoin. Done. We'll have an ITF. We'll launch an ITF just for our podcast.
Braincoin to the moon, man.
Yeah, we just doubled the value of our podcast by doing that.
We did well, yeah. Except it will crash next week, but never mind.
It's true. It's a good time to buy. Sarah, thank you so much. Clifford was amazing. Yet again, more amazing guests. I am so excited because I actually am bringing one of my friends on soon. So it'll not just be your friends. I thank you though. It's like going to a party and not knowing anyone and leaving the party saying, wow, I have lots of friends now. And then when I leave, everyone's talking badly about me. Like, who was that guy you invited?
Well, I can't wait to meet your friend either because I've seen her email and she's totally fabulous. So I think she's soon to be my friend too, Russ.
She is so really amazing. Very, very amazing. So here we go. Amazing friends, amazing partnership. Thank you, Sarah. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes. Take care. Thank you, Russ.
You bet. The Rebel Scientist Podcast is a Breaking the Gray production, created by Russ Eisenman and Paul Wood, hosted by Sarah Turner, music and sound editing by Logan Shea. For more information and other fantastic podcasts, visit breakingthegray.com. That's gray with an E, breakingthegray.com.
Breaking the gray.